Music therapy and expressive arts are great ways of working on overcoming perfectionism because they involve play, creativity, flexibility, spontaneity, all things that perfectionism kind of struggles with. Perfectionism can show up in a variety of ways, like fear of failure, challenges with control, or overthinking. I did do a more in-depth video on perfectionism if you want to check that out, linked in the description. So today I'm going to share with you some ways of using music therapy and music therapy interventions in working with perfectionism. So stay tuned. So the instrument that I'm going to be using in my interventions today are these handbells. I've had these for a while now and I really like them because you don't need to do this, although you can, but there's this little button thing. This is very good for adaptability and it's protective. So if you have kind of impulsive kids and they want to throw them around, they're very strong. So I've linked those bells in my description if you want to check those out, but you can also just use the black keys on a piano for these interventions. So I'll show you the first intervention, which is just improving over some guitar chords. And the second intervention is kind of like a repeat after me game. So the facilitator will play a few notes on the bells and then the participant will copy them. The facilitator can purposefully start doing more and more difficult patterns and see how the participant responds to that. Do they get frustrated? Do they give up? Do they keep going? So you can kind of use this activity as a metaphor for perfectionism or trying to get things right, and how sometimes it's just unreasonable to think that we're gonna be perfect at everything, and then reflecting on things in their life that feels like that. Like what feels really challenging for you that you need to give yourself permission to say, like, that was a super difficult pattern. That was something that was really challenging. Like, how can I expect myself to be perfect at this? So these interventions can lead to a lot of reflection, and that's kind of the idea. Reflect on what it feels like to not get it right and what that means about them. So then you can do a second round of this repeat after me activity where you tell them to intentionally mess up. Try not to get it right. And what does it feel like to make your brain do it a different way than you know is the right way? And I like these interventions for all ages. I mean, these are great for kids, but like teens and adults, they're great because it's just kind of silly and playful, which is the exact thing that you want to work on with people who might be more perfectionistic or more rigid in their thinking. Just trying something more out of the box. Now I want to share with you a few add-ons you can throw in with this intervention. So one, you can include kind of like a perfectionism profile before you start. And I've included this as a free download in my description. So if you personally want to try that out and see where you rank, let me know in the comments. Another idea is to do something like a permission bells handout. So like having each color represent a different statement of permission. Like, I have permission to rest. I have permission to make a mistake. Because a lot of the times with perfectionism, we have these rigid rules about ourselves or these rigid like beliefs that we have to do things a certain way. So to give permission can be really liberating for someone with perfectionism. And you can get really creative with this. So you can assign a different permission statement to a different bell to each color, and then you can kind of improvise on the bells that you need that day, or what statements do you need to hear the most today. You can sing the permission statements along with your melodies. I don't know, whatever you want to do, you can get creative with it. So you can find this worksheet and a whole detailed step-by-step session plan linked in my description. So again, the reflecting on these activities can be a really important piece of the intervention. So asking questions about how perfectionism shows up for them, what it really felt like to mess up. What do you think I'm thinking about you when you mess up? and kind of transferring that to their everyday life. What does that look like for you day to day? And a great way to end this intervention is to really encourage the participant to find ways to be playful and silly throughout their day. What are some things that you can do that are kind of spontaneous, unexpected? This can often be things like expressive arts, like dancing or writing without editing what you write. And I encourage you to have fun and be silly today. What's something you can do today? And then reflecting on what happens when you let go of that need to be perfect or to do things the right way. What do you feel about yourself? And what can you give yourself permission to do today? Well, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful for you in some way. If it was, please like, share, and subscribe. I post videos on Fridays on music therapy, mental health, expressive arts, psychology, stuff like that. So subscribe if you're interested, and I hope to see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.